Friday, July the 25th, marks the most significant transformation in UK internet regulation since the web began. It's going to see the implementation of Ofcom's age verification requirements under the Online Safety Act. So I thought I'd mark this important moment by saying a little bit about what I think is going on. The principle is that it's just not right for children to share exactly the same lives as adults. I think there needs to be two internets, one that's safe for children and one that's free and fruity for adults. And that's what this is all about. The logical case for two internets begins with the simple reality that the current arrangement is failing our children catastrophically. Average age kids see porn in the UK is 13 years old. Now, that's not an abstract statistic. It represents millions of developing minds being exposed to content that is fundamentally warping their understanding of relationships, consent, and human dignity. The concept of two internets represents the same digital equivalent of what we already apply in the physical world. We don't let kids into casinos, pubs, or adult cinemas. Yet online, we've allowed a free-for-all where the most extreme content is a click away from, say, educational resources. For me, that's not the benefits of innovation. That's negligence on an industrial scale. Creating two digital spaces, one protected for children, one unrestricted for verified adults, simply extends our existing social contract into the digital realm. The technology exists. The legal framework, as outlined on the Online Safety Act, provides the necessary powers. What remains is the implementation with sufficient force to overcome industry resistance. Now, that resistance to this common sense approach reveals an uncomfortable truth about big tech's business model. These companies have grown wealthy from the eyeballs and economic influence of children, and by externalizing the harm done to those kids. When a child develops mental health issues from algorithmic manipulation, when educational attainment drops due to excessive screen time, when a predator grooms a teenager, these costs are borne by families, by schools, by the NHS, and by law enforcement. Meanwhile, the platforms that enabled these harms continue collecting their revenues. The scale of big tech's power cannot be overstated. 5 companies, Google, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and Apple, control 11% of global GDP. Their lobbying expenditure in the EU alone increased from 97 million euros to 113 million between 2023 and 2025. In the UK, they deploy armies of lobbyists, fund think tanks, and maintain close relationships with politicians. The idea that age verification is technically impossible or economically unviable is absolutely absurd. These are the same companies that can target advertisements to users based on minute behavioral patterns. They can identify faces in a crowd, and they have technology that can predict purchasing decisions before users themselves know what they want. The technology for age verification isn't just possible, it's trivial compared to their existing capabilities. The July 25th implementation date represents more than just a regulatory milestone. It marks the beginning of a fundamental restructuring of the digital environment. For too long, we've accepted the tech industry's framing that creating a safe internet for children is impossible, and that any regulation stifles innovation. But what innovation is there in allowing 8-year-olds access to hardcore pornography? What economic benefit comes from algorithms designed to addict children? The real innovation will come from creating safe digital spaces where children can learn and grow without exposure to content that damages their development. The porn industry's response to age verification requirements reveals a clear divide between those willing to accept responsibility and those clinging onto old models. Some major platforms, we think perhaps Pornhub, StripChat, and RedTube, have confirmed compliance. Pornhub's around 40% of UK traffic, and their compliance demonstrates that age verification is both technically feasible and commercially viable. However, resistance remains fierce from platforms like WGCZ, which claims verification would destroy their business. That says a lot about their real priorities. They've built a business dependent on unrestricted access, including children. When a company says protecting children would destroy their business, they're admitting their business model depends on harming children. The technical architecture for two internets requires 6 integrated components working in harmony. First, universal age verification at the point of access using methods ranging from credit card checks to facial age verification. Second, algorithmic segregation ensures children's feeds remain free from harmful content. Thirdly, robust back-end systems prevent circumvention attempts. Fourthly, a privacy-preserving architecture that verifies age without creating surveillance databases. Fifthly, rapid content moderation that removes any harmful content that slips through. And sixthly, and perhaps most importantly, continuous monitoring and improvement of all systems and a tough enforcement regime. This is non-trivial, but it is not impossible. There are significant risks that it might not work, but I believe those are manageable. VPN demand is said to have increased in places like Utah and in France when Pornhub left those territories. But that can be addressed through VPN detection algorithms and international cooperation. Privacy concerns about verification databases can be addressed through double-blind systems that verify age without storing viewing history. And the Information Commissioner has confirmed that properly designed systems can comply with GDPR while achieving child protection goals. The enforcement mechanism the Online Safety Act regime provides is tough. Ofcom can levy fines of up to £18 million or 10% of global revenue, whichever is higher. For Meta, that could mean fines exceeding £10 billion. But the real power lies in blocking orders. If a platform refuses to implement age verification, Ofcom can require ISPs to block access entirely. This nuclear option concentrates the mind. It worked on Elon Musk in Brazil, and it can work here. The purpose of all this trouble is to improve outcomes for kids. So we need to measure those outcomes, which requires clear metrics tied to real-world outcomes. And I strongly recommend we track 4 key indicators. Firstly, exposure of children to harmful content. Currently, 50% of 13-year-olds say they've seen porn, and we should aim to get that number below 10% within 2 years. We should measure through surveys, monitoring whether platforms are truly compliant or just faking it. And we should log incident reports. Second, we must measure the impact of algorithms that screw up mental health and education of children. We should track well-being surveys, engagement metrics, and PISA scores. These worryingly fell from 502 to 489 for maths in the UK. Thirdly, the total amount of screen time. This currently exceeds 6 hours daily for UK teenagers, and we should target a reduction to an age-appropriate level of about 2 or 3 hours. Lastly, contact with predators. Currently, 1 in 5 children reports being approached by strangers online, and we should reduce this to below 5% within 2 years. These aren't arbitrary targets. They represent millions of British children protected, thousands of predatory contacts prevented, countless hours reclaimed for education and development. The economic impact alone justifies action. Research shows online harms cost the UK economy billions annually through mental health treatment, lost productivity and crime. A 15% reduction in online harms could deliver £4 billion in annual economic benefits. Making this intervention work is absolutely imperative, and you can help. Firstly, we must create overwhelming commercial pressure through strategic communications. When platforms comply, this must become headline news, demonstrating that child protection and commercial success align. Conversely, resistance may carry reputational costs. Advertising, payment processors, and business partners must understand they're enabling child harm by working with non-compliant platforms. Secondly, we must sustain political and media engagement. Parliamentary questions, committee inquiries, and media investigations maintain pressure, but we must avoid the trap of endless consultation. Every day of delay means thousands of more children exposed to harmful content. Thirdly, we must build an international coordination. The EU's Digital Services Act, Australia's ban on under-16s accessing social media, and similar measures worldwide create momentum. Platforms cannot escape jurisdiction shopping if democracies coordinate. Fourthly, we must ensure legal preparedness for non-compliance. Well-funded judicial review stands ready if implementation falters. The Online Safety Act provides clear powers. Civil society must ensure they're used. And fifthly, we must demand transparency on outcomes. Platforms must provide anonymized data on verification effectiveness, circumvention attempts, and harm reduction. Quarterly public reporting helps maintain accountability. So where do we go from here? Success with age verification lays the groundwork for a comprehensive digital protection programme. The roadmap for the future is clear, and 4 campaigns stand out as potential milestones on this journey. Firstly, smartphone-free schools by September 2026, building on successful trials where academic performance improves significantly. We should seek under-16 social media bans, following Australia's lead and using age verification infrastructure. App Store age verification is essential, closing the loophole where children can download harmful apps without checks. And lastly, we should work towards ending online anonymity, requiring verified identity for UK internet access. This will, I hope, lead to some form of transparent digital identity by 2030, enabling seamless age verification across all platforms while maintaining privacy. Here's the truth big tech don't want to acknowledge. The current arrangement is economically unviable. As Melanie Dawes of Ofcom stated, for too long, many online services which allow porn and other harmful material have ignored the fact that children are accessing their services. This willful blindness has created a brewing crisis in public trust. That digital trust directly correlates to economic growth. Research shows a 5% increase in digital trust generates $3,000 additional GDP per capita. Conversely, declining trust threatens the entire digital economy. Parents are increasingly restricting children's internet access. Advertisers face backlash for appearing alongside harmful content. Investors question the sustainability of business models built on addiction and harm. The status quo inevitably leads to one of 2 outcomes: either popular revolt against big tech or more comprehensive regulation. And we're already seeing the signs of that. Political parties across the spectrum support stronger measures. Parent groups are mobilizing with increasing effectiveness. And young people themselves demand protection from platforms that profit from their distress. Smart companies should recognize this reality. Those implementing robust age verification aren't just complying with regulations, they're future-proofing their business. They're building trust that translates into sustainable growth. They're avoiding the reputational damage that will destroy those who resist. For shareholders, the choice is stark. Companies can accept reasonable regulation now, move towards the 2 internet model, and remain profitable, or they can resist until public anger forces draconian measures. The UK stands poised to lead global transformation on digital safety. The only question is whether industry will partner in this transformation or be dragged into compliance. This isn't about destroying the internet or stifling innovation. It's about creating sustainable digital infrastructure that serves society rather than exploiting it. It's about recognizing that true innovation means solving hard problems, not profiting from causing them. The economic logic is irrefutable. The moral imperative is clear. The technical solutions do exist. What remains is the will to act. July the 25th marks the beginning of that action. Please join us in creating two internets, one safe for children, one free for adults. The alternative is an internet nobody can trust, an economy undermined by declining confidence, and a generation of children bearing scars from our failure to protect them.